You know, for me, I want to use good quality, reliable products. I want then my students to use that because then they know the importance of using those products.
Yeah.
You know, if you buy a cheaper product, does it last as long?
Yeah.
Is it that it's got to give you that guarantee? It's got to last because you're putting your name to that product in a way.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure it's reliable and high quality. So yeah, we do. So we try and get yourselves and other companies in and brands to come and do tech talks and show their products to our students and say, why use this product over another product? What makes theirs stand out?
Andrew Duffen, thanks for joining me, mate.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm really glad that you're sat down because I thought I was short, but after meeting you, it's another level.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. It's biology. But let's just step straight into it. So what do you do in your role at Walsall College?
Well, currently I'm an electrical installation tutor. I work on level 2s, level 3s, T levels and apprenticeship students as well. The level 2s and level 3s are a mixture of 16 to 19-year-old school leavers and adult retrainers as well. So
right.
Someone that might want a career path change for some description.
Oh, okay.
So adults generally come in 1 day a week or they do an evening, 2 nights evening.
Lovely.
On there. And then mainly what I do is my role is obviously developing resources for the course, for both theory classes and practical classes.
Yeah.
And just generally helping the students get through the course.
Okay.
You know, that's a role in a nutshell.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite an important job. You're teaching the next generation of Sparkies.
Yeah, so. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully. So
you were an electrician before this?
Yeah, I was, my career path, I left school in 1998, so it makes me quite old now. Scary. Got an electrical apprenticeship, qualified in 2002, worked for that company for 19 years, various different roles with them. Worked with a lot of apprentices with the company as well when I was doing it, and loved sharing my knowledge, his experiences with them and help them develop. So a natural progression for me was to look into teaching. I always had the itch. Okay. So I decided to give it a go in 2019. I haven't looked back since.
Oh, okay. So just pre-pandemic.
Yeah. Pretty
wow.
much.
How are you finding it so far?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. It's challenging, but it's very rewarding. It's demanding, but it's really good. It's really good. It's nice to work with people that want a chance and want to develop.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, like you say, you did your. Sorry, remind me. When did you go through your apprenticeship and your electrician training?
I was 1998. Left school and got an apprenticeship in the September.
Okay. So has the education of new electricians changed since then? And if it has, what's been the biggest change?
I think realistically the biggest change with it is the health and safety requirements that go on with the course. All students will have to do a practical assessment of different tasks, health and safety wise. They'll have to do some written assessments as well for it as well. A bit like coursework, not quite coursework, it's written assessments to a certain degree. Also, there's more what I call design-based project within the qualification. Synoptic, they sometimes call them, where they've got to price a job up, design a job, work out the labour costs and so on from start to finish.
What are they when they when they're designing a job? Is that pen and paper, or are they using BIM?
Whatever the governing bodies of the qualification, they'll give them a set project, and they might have some drawings issues with it that they use, and there'll be assessment paperwork that goes with it.
Got you.
So, and the project sometimes change from year to year. On there for it. So, obviously, with that as well, digital technology. So they might have to do some computer-based work to go inside it. So they need to do both. Obviously, the wiring regulations will always have an impact on the qualification. Every time that changes, we've got to keep up to date, students up to date with it as well on there. But the biggest change, I think, is the T levels.
Yes, you mentioned this before we started recording.
Yeah, the T level qualification. It's a new qualification, relatively new. I won't say it's new. It's what they call the vocational A level.
Right.
So you could do a T level in plumbing, electrical, carpentry, and if you wanted to, you can get UCAS points to go to university.
Okay.
Each FE provider, college, will decide their entry levels for that qualifications for their course. Ours is at 5s in maths, English, and science.
A 5 is equivalent to a B, right?
Yeah. So it's quite a high level to get on there, but that's down to the college. You could go 4s if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So around that, so you want a C or a B in those sort of areas on there. 2-year qualification with 2 exams based into written exams and 1 practical assessment.
Okay.
So the 1 exam is the core unit, which is building services and construction. So whether you're doing plumbing, carpentry, or electrical, I'm doing those trades because that's familiar with me. But you can T levels in all qualifications. They will sit the same exam.
Right.
Okay. In that you can do it in the first year or the second year. You can decide that yourselves when you want to sit the exam. We do first year for the core, and in the second year they do their specialism exam.
Okay.
Which is then based on whatever trade route they've picked.
Right.
Ours would be electrical. Also in there, they've got to do a work placement, which is I think is a real, I wouldn't say issue, but the tricky part of the qualification for them is gain that work placement, or the college providing them with a work placement, where they do 45 hours or 315 hours.
Okay.
In what we call industry relatable.
Yeah.
So, if you're an electrician, maybe working for electrical wholesaler, or working for electrical contracting company of some description.
Right, okay.
But I think it's a real positive qualification. It's just at the moment, because it's in its infant stages, it's just having those employers aware of the T-level and understanding the pros and cons of taking on a T-level student. Yeah. Which I think there's more pros than there are cons, personally.
I think so as well. I mean, when you were talking about it before, it was certainly like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then as you were going through each point, it was like, oh, that's more, and now that's more interesting.
Yeah.
Especially the potential for work placements.
Yeah, well, we was talking about the wholesaler or the manufacturer. There's tends not to be apprenticeship route in there.
No.
No one really knows the route how you get in there.
I think one day I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but obviously electrician, you've got to go through, is it 4 years?
4 to 5 years, depends.
4 to 5 years. So that's a bit of an investment.
Yeah.
To work in a wholesaler or a manufacturer, arguably, you can just get the job and away you go.
Possibly, yeah. So I think bringing a T-level in, and there's so many avenues in what we was talking about. You've got buying, you've got purchasing, you've got sales, you've got then testing your products, which you showed me early on as well. So there's so many different paths, and I think the T-level could introduce some students in construction industry, into the vast products that construction industry use in all the different trades.
Okay. So would you say that the T-levels, it's in its infancy, but in your mind, is that an improvement on the setup when you were learning?
I still think, without a shadow of a doubt, the apprenticeship route will always be the best route into a trade.
Yeah.
I still think that, but I think this is, with the other qualifications I teach at the moment, there is we can do a key for work placement, but you can't complete the qualification without doing a work placement. You can still complete the qualification without the work placement. We encourage it, try and get one. Whereas this one, I think you've got to do it. So I think that makes it better.
Right.
Because it works both ways. It gives the student an insight into the actual industry they may go into, and the employer then gets a bit of a trial of a potential new employee.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. I just think it's so early, and I don't think many industries or companies are aware of it.
No, well, I mean, we weren't.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
20 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Once it gets more popular, and it will do, I think it'll be a good thing.
Okay.
For the qualification, yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think if apprenticeship is the best route, but I'm a bit biased because I was apprenticeship. So. Well,
nowadays are apprenticeships harder?
I think they're more difficult to find.
Right.
A lot of apprentices a lot of students find it hard to find apprenticeships because certain companies do like them to be driving. So there's obviously an age limit on that.
Yeah.
I think it just makes life easier for the company not having to provide transport to get them to A to B on there. And there's also insurances on sites where you've got to be over 18 to maybe work on the site.
Right.
So it can be difficult. I'm not saying you can't get apprenticeship at 16. I'm not saying that by any stretch of imagination, but it can be difficult but whether there are as many when I started, I don't think there is none.
Right.
But statistically, I don't know, but it feels like there isn't.
So how can we rectify that?
It's a very good question. That is, it's a very good question. I think the problem I don't want to say problem we've got is we've got a lot of self-employed people out there,
right?
And then do they want the responsibility of then training someone?
Yeah, because you were saying before so if you're not 18 and you can't work on site on your own, so then the other person, the owner, if it's effectively a one-man band, they've got to stick with that kid, whilst they're on site, which could potentially
slow down the job, slow them down. You see, it's difficult, but you've got to invest in the future. Yeah, so ultimately, I think the apprenticeship they're still out there. I just think there's probably less of them, and there's less big companies that can eat up the pressures of that, where there's probably more smaller independent companies.
Okay.
Yeah. But
because of that, then I'm going to jump ahead a bit. Sorry, in the questions, but do you think that we have got now, or there is potential for a shortage of electricians in the UK?
From my point of view, from the numbers we get in the college, no.
Okay,
that's my point of view. There's probably stats out there probably telling us there's an age workforce, and there's probably all stats maybe argue against it. But from my personal view, no. You've got to think of the renewable energy market, how buoyant that's going to be, EV chargers, solar panels. So there's got to be a need for electricians to install that equipment. It's difficult to answer that one, but I think from my point of view, no. Okay. You're always going to need an electrician. Yeah. I can't see that ever changing.
It seems to be one of the and this is purely my point of view. From what I've seen and what I understand, admittedly with a limited time in the industry, being an electrician seems to be the highest favoured of the trades.
Oh, well, I'm biased. I would always say I'd agree with you there. But each trade has their own, pros and cons of that. And they're all difficult. If you're working with gas, again, it's a killer. Electric is a killer as well. But they're all difficult, and they've all got the theory assessments now. Yeah. So they're all as equally. But yeah, I would always be biased to say that. But that's my opinion. Okay. I'm sure if you've got a gas engineer in or something, he'd argue something differently.
Yeah, we'll expect some negative comments on this one.
yeah. But I'd agree with you there. Yes.
Okay. Well, I wanted to come back to something you mentioned a minute ago, which was wiring regulations, because they're always changing. Yes. As we know. Yeah. Now, I think from memory, when we were just having our walk around before, did you say that the gas regs change?
What I've been told, they change on a regular time interval. I think it's every 5 years. Right. On that.
So they know they're coming and roughly when to expect.
Whereas ours, and there's again, you got to look at it both ways on this one. The regulations are changing because of the rapid change in technologies and renewable energies. Right. So the regulations are trying to keep up with those technologies. Right. So we're on Amendment 2 at the moment. We usually have 3 amendments in a regulation, and then they go to the next, will be the 19th now. Okay. We're on the 18th, Amendment 2. Yeah. I imagine there'll be Amendment 3, and then you'll be on the 19th, and then you'll have to resit your exams on that. So they're not timed, no. They're not say every 5 years a new regulation comes out, which can be a bit difficult for electricians and educators to keep up to date with.
Well, how do you do that?
Well, every time there's a new amendment, they're available for you to buy. Obviously, so you can buy them or download them. So you'll obviously buy them, download them. There's webinars, CPDs that you can go on to. There's tech talks. Yeah. So there's lots of avenues to explore to keep up to date. But as an educator, I need to keep up with them. That goes without saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it just adds on to the workload.
It just adds on to the workload.
I'm sure there's somebody listening now going, but you get 6 weeks.
Yeah. I get plenty of holidays. Can't complain.
Okay. Well, you said that you've got a pretty strong number of people coming through every year.
Yeah, numbers are really good.
And I mean, we're in 2024 now, so we're a few months into the new term. What's the number of new students you had at the start of the term, roughly?
I'm gonna. I wish I would have known that question was coming. I would say, I'd guess around 400 students.
Wow.
Around 400 students. That's adult apprenticeships, 16 to 19-year-olds.
And that's just
at our college, Wow. Around 300-400 students at the top of my head.
Just on your course?
Yeah, on the electrical courses.
Wow. Okay.
Because we do a level 1 course as well. Right. I don't teach on that one at the moment, but we do level 1, level 2, level 3, T levels, and then apprenticeships. And then the level 2 and level 3 obviously have the adults as well.
Okay. And is that I mean, I don't know how much information is shared between colleges, but is that pretty common around?
I'd say if you went to another college in the West Midlands areas, I would say that all construction courses would be very busy.
So that's healthy numbers.
Yeah. It's really healthy numbers.
Do you expect large drop off?
We do have some dropouts naturally. As 16 to 19-year-olds, when you leave school, it's very difficult to know what career path you want to do for the rest of your life. I'm sure we've all had a few change of jobs in our careers. So it's very hard to go, right, you're leaving school, I'm going to be an electrician. Yeah. You might have some parents or guardians may say, go get in the trade route, it's a good career. So they naturally go, I'll try a plumbing course, carpentry course, electrical course. And maybe they get into it and they're like, this isn't for me, which is fine. We still got, hopefully get them complete, or we can move them on to the right course as a college. Right. So we try and keep them. If they're not happy on electrical and you want to try plumbing, we try to do some swaps. Okay. It's not as easy. On paper, it sounds very easy.
Yeah, but then you've got a whole catch-up thing to
do. Of that. Naturally, there's also external factors that influence dropouts as well. But we, as a college, the college is very good to support learners, make sure they're on the right path, and support them the best way we can. Okay. Retention can be difficult because again, they might do level 2 and might go, I want to do media studies. Right. So that way, as it goes up, the numbers do drop out a little bit. But as a college, I think the college is very good at supporting the learners, make sure they're on the right course. Okay. Give them extra support if they need it.
Why do you think that so many younger people are attracted to the construction roles or construction courses?
As I was saying before, I still think the generation, their parents, guardians, family members will always say, and I agree, a trade is for life. Yeah. Once you've got that skill set, you can come back to it. Yeah. If you wanted to. Once you've got it, you can come back to it. It's a bit like riding a bike. Yeah. And there's always got to be a need for those skill sets.
100%.
The robots haven't come out just yet to wire a house or plaster a house or do some plumbing just yet. Hopefully they don't come out and do that. Make my life easy. But so you're always going to need a worker to do that job. So and generally you can earn a good career out of it as well. Yeah. And there's so many paths in the construction industry as well. You could start off being an electrician and work your way out to be a site manager, a project manager, a company, or an estimator, designer. Yeah. You don't have to just be on tools. No. You can go in the office space. Yeah. So there's lots of paths for it. So I think it's, traditionally a good career path, and I don't think that will change. Okay. In my opinion.
Do you think that we are as positive about our industry as we could be?
I think that as we was having discussions earlier on, like we said about wholesalers and manufacturers, it doesn't get the limelight, does it? No. It's not got no one. You got to know your products. Yeah. And that's a skill in itself, isn't it? Yeah. Especially if you go to sell your products, you've got to know them from inside out, the pros, the cons. Absolutely. And that goes under the radar, I think. And there's no career path for a wholesaler. No one goes, I'll tell you what I want you to be. I want you to be a wholesaler, a manufacturer. And I think the T level could be a good option to introduce people into manufacturing, wholesaling, enterprise, and see the different elements. What you showed me today, being on the shop floor, then testing the products, then buying the producs, then selling the products. There's quite a lot of avenues you can go into that people are probably not aware of.
So do you think if you've got a learner who's coming in to be an electrician, do you I know they'll have an awareness of wholesaler, but is it an in-depth understanding?
No, they will not have that. We encourage them to use wholesalers rather than other sellers, because the wholesaler will generally have affiliation with a product and know the product. Yeah. And they generally have electrical background of some description, or they've been in the industry a long period of time to know the products. You might go to a place I won't name, and they may not have the same in-depth knowledge. Right. And so we do encourage them to use wholesalers, and it's a good way for them to find work as well. Right. With students. So we always say to the students, get your CV, drop it into your local wholesaler. You're going to have electricians go in there. Hopefully they might, put your name on the whiteboard or on the pinboard. Hopefully you might get something out of it. Yeah. It's a good avenue to potentially find some work. Okay.
Well, that was something. So this was an extra question that I wanted to bring up, which I did discuss beforehand. But we've been seeing recently, especially on LinkedIn, there's been apprentices who are in their second or third year of their apprenticeship, and they've lost it, and they're like, has anybody got anything for it? Why do you think that's happening?
Again, it could be that the companies, unfortunately, are no longer running.
Yeah, that seems to be every day.
Yeah, I'd say with the cost of living, massive impact on everyone. Yeah, and prices are changing rapidly. Especially cable, metals. Yeah, they fluctuate so much from day to day. You've got to be buying your metals used in advance, to get the right price. So it could be just be that. That would be what I'd be saying is that it could be that maybe the apprentice is not enjoying the job that they're doing. Right. And they might think, well, you sold me, this is what we'll be doing, and I'm not doing what you've said. Okay. It could work that way, or it could be that the company maybe not be ceasing to do trading. Yeah. Okay. Those would be my guesses. Educated.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how we, what we can do to. I mean, I say what we can do. We're not going to click our fingers and everything's going to be solved. Not. I think it's just a bit of coming together as an industry. Yeah. Sharing posts.
I think effective communication is the key. Yeah. Naturally, we were saying this earlier, when everyone's quite closed doors, just keep a bit to themselves. Yeah. We don't work together. I think we need to work together a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, again. Before we started recording this, and this is what I've said to every single person, that what I've seen, we don't talk enough in any way, shape, or form. Certainly not throughout the supply chain.
No, and as you mentioned, I work with like the first 16 to 19 year olds, the next generation. So that's your first port of call, is to educate them. Yeah. With that.
Do you think we need to do? I mean, you've got strong numbers coming through the door.
Yeah.
But do you think we need to do any more as an industry to attract young people?
All I would say is I would say the T level hopefully is a good thing for that. I really do hope that. And apprenticeships would be, once these students do level 2, level 3, they're not qualified electricians. Right. So they've got to find a career and then complete their apprenticeship, so to speak. Okay. So they've got to do a portfolio of work on site to get them ready for an endpoint assessment. Right, okay. So it's finding that for them. Okay. It can be difficult for them to find that work placement. So it's I think we're just stakeholders of companies, government. We all need to work together to make more attraction to the industry and make it an easier path. Okay.
So so you're talking there about the assessments that the students have to do. How what's involved in the electrician's course to get them prepared for that?
If you're doing an apprenticeship or you're doing a school leaver course, which framework are you trying to?
Let's go with the apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship then, okay. So generally, apprenticeship will last 4 to 5 years. Right. On that, you'll have what they call the 5357 qualification. Okay. Unit outcomes. So you do a unit, do exam. There's a practical assessment in there. There's some health and safety assessments, and there's some inspection and testing and fault finding assessments as well. So they complete that. Then they have to obviously do a portfolio of evidence. Right. So they have an MVQ assessor who either watch them on site, they can do it over Teams now, over a video, watch them doing a job on site, they'll come out to site, assess them on site, and they have to do a portfolio, so many jobs, and evidence the jobs by taking photos, maybe putting some drawings in, risk assessment, method statements. Yeah. Once they've got that part done, so the theory and the portfolio, they can then put through to an aim to endpoint assessment, practical assessment. Right. And then once they've done that, then they get the qualification status. Okay. Then they can go on and do their wiring regulation exam. Right. And then they can do inspection and testing and so on if they choose. Okay. But typically that lasts about 4 to 5 years. Just depends on your apprenticeship and getting your evidence. Yeah. And getting through your exams. Right. Because you've got to obviously pass your exams first time. Okay.
So that, when you were saying earlier that, because it's I mean, you went through the day in the life of, and it was pretty hectic. And you said that even then you still can't go and show every conduit bend.
Yeah. It's difficult when you've got large numbers in a workshop in place. It's difficult to get around and support every learner. Yeah. It's challenging. It's rewarding, but challenging as well, because naturally you'll get a learner that picks it up quicker than another learner. Yeah. And it's trying to make sure everyone's on the same page at the same time. And generally, what we find with students, if they're busy, they're well behaved. Right. Okay. if you keep them busy, they're going to be no problem. And workshop is the perfect element for that. So unfortunately, with high numbers, if we do have encounter that, it can be a bit challenging.
Okay.
To balance all that.
And do you talk about product quality?
Of course, yeah, of course.
How important is that?
That's vital. You know, for me, I want to use good quality, reliable products. I want then my students to use that because then they know the importance of using those products.
Yeah.
You know, if you buy a cheaper product, does it last as long?
Yeah.
Is it that it's got to give you that guarantee? It's got to last because you're putting your name to that product in a way.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure it's reliable and high quality. So yeah, we do. So we try and get yourselves and other companies in and brands to come and do tech talks and show their products to our students and say, why use this product over another product? What makes theirs stand out? Yeah. Because there's so many products within electrical.
I know.
You know, there's
quite a few.
There's a vast amount with them. But yeah, we definitely emphasise that. It's key.
Okay.
It's key for them to understand that.
Because earlier on you said that when you were working in that 19-year space for that particular company.
Thanks for reminding me.
No worries. You had a list of items that you needed to buy, and you had accounts with a couple of different wholesalers, and you would say, I need this, and then you would get those products, and the brand was almost irrelevant. Yeah,
I was lucky we had a buyer, so generally the large jobs we had, we weren't buying the individual products, they were just coming out to site. Yeah. It was only if I was doing some kind of maintenance issue or generally doing, you might go into, I need this, that, and that, and you could then pick.
Right.
You could pick a brand then when you go into a local wholesaler, but when we was doing the large jobs, it was just whatever came on the van. Right. That's what we was using, and it was down to the buyer to get the best product for the best price. Yeah. And that's challenging itself.
Always comes down to price.
Yeah. What it does, doesn't it? You know. We can't get away from that.
No, and you're never going to. We're never going to. I just think that there's. I don't know. I mean, product quality is so important. And
massively. Me personally, if it's my own business, I'd rather pay a bit more for a product that will give me a bit more quality. Right. Than buy something that was maybe 20 pence cheaper. Yeah. Per item. If you buy a lot of items, it adds up. Yeah,
because you said earlier that you got guys that have gone and spent double the price for a Milwaukee drill because it's better than in their mind than DeWalt.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you think there's a shift going? Because when last year we had Tony Howard in from Rexel, and he was talking about when he started, it was you'd have it was all about brand. You would get you'd get your screws from brand, this particular brand. You'd get this product.
Same as like socket faces. There's always one brand that everyone would say to use because it was high quality.
Yeah. Do you think that's because it seems to have got a bit. Wild West is a bit of a loose term, but it's so populated.
I think it depends on the buyer. If the buyer had an electrical background and served in industry and used products, then they would know to use that. But if a buyer for a company is maybe just a numbers person, they may not have affiliation with a product. They may not understand. They only get it back from messages from the installers. Right. Then they may change. They go, well, actually, we've had a lot of recall issues with this product. We're not going to use this manufacturer. We're going to use this one. I don't mind paying a bit more. Okay. So it just depends on that. Yeah. Realistically, I think generally installers who buy their own tools and equipment know their products. Yeah. I'm not saying all, but I don't want to get negative press. That's like all buyers don't know what they're buying. Yeah. It just depends on their background.
But I mean, if you're,
then companies should be educating the buyers to say, we're not buying that. Yeah, that's not that cable there. It may be cheaper, but it's not as good as the other brand. Yeah, we want to use that one.
I mean, fundamentally, if you're a buyer that's got no on-site experience and no, frustrations with brand A versus brand B, then all they're going to exclusively focus on the numbers. Of course, because that's their job.
Yeah, of course it is.
Okay, yeah. So more education needed there.
I think doing an electrical buyer, it used to be a job, but where you go, I've done my apprenticeship, now I'm going to be a buyer or a designer. I don't know, to be a buyer for a plumbing company or a carpentry company, or you have to have a background knowledge of your products? Yeah. I don't know on that one, but I think it's educated. If they haven't, I think they need to be educated, to know what products to use, and that's manufacturers getting to the shop floors, getting to the companies and getting their products in there.
Yeah. No, I quite agree. Okay. Well, let's talk about, we've already touched on the level of involvement in these courses, to the point where, as you said earlier, you aren't necessarily able to cover all of the bends within conduit. For example.
I'd love to. It's very difficult. So we try and teach them measured bends. I think that's a skill.
Right.
There's no point bending a piece of conduit and then cutting off the two ends to make it fit.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to do some measured bends. We do, but to do all of them is challenging.
Yeah.
And there's so many different bends you can do, I'm sure. We'll get it on there,
Well, we did an e-fix video with Metpro tube. I'll link it in the description.
Yeah, definitely. Gary covers all those quite well. So,
but what about if you're not able to cover everything?
Well, that would be then on-site experience through the apprenticeship. We've got to teach them the basics. We can't teach them everything. That's where the work placement with the T-level and the apprenticeship comes into play.
Yeah.
Because hopefully they gain that experience on site.
Okay.
We've got a little bit of experience working with conduit, for argument's sake, threading and putting a bend in.
Yeah.
But then that's when they need to hone them skills in a site environment.
That leads me to the next question. So what about innovation?
Okay, so we do some of your products, if you don't mind saying, Conlook.
Yeah.
We've got that in our new workshop. Again, threadless conduit.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant piece of equipment there.
Thank you.
On that one, you've got the rapid saddles.
Yep.
So that right as well.
Yep.
Again, great for our workshop because we're not losing so many screws from the students as well, and quicker. And I like how you can then put it on the wall, and then you can drop the hangers down, and then you can drop your conduit on, hang your conduit on, and then drop it on. So we definitely want those sort of new products, because I'm not on the shop floor no more. I'm not in industry fitting those products.
Yeah.
So I need the manufacturers of those products to get them into the college, so they can demonstrate them to the electricians that I'm hopefully training. Because the worst case scenario would be someone going, well, we don't use that on site, we use this.
Right.
And I don't know that product.
See, that's quite interesting to me, because the biggest kickback we've had, certainly on products like Conlock, is that you're removing the skill from the job.
Yes, threading. But you still got to bend it. You still got to, that's the skill in there. I'm not, before I get any hate on saying threading's not a skill. It is a skill, of course it is, on there. But we'll go back to costs, and obviously installers need to install their equipment, efficiently and quickly.
Yeah.
So if there's a product there that speeds that process up, then I'm all for it.
Okay.
No, I'm not against it. I still going to teach my students how to put a thread on conduit.
Yeah.
I don't want that to ever change.
No.
But I still want to show them Conlock as well, to show the pros, and it's up to them to make a decision. And
the reality is, if you're in a real world situation, you might be coming across an already installed threaded system.
Exactly.
And you've got to adapt
it. You've got to add to it. You can't add Conlock to it.
Yeah.
In a way. Do you know what I mean? You've got to adapt it.
So you're all for innovation then?
Yeah, perfect. I love new products, new materials, new tools. Please.
Kid in a sweet shop.
Please send them my way, because I love just demonstrating to the learners, and I love getting the manufacturers to come and show their products to the learners, because they're going to be using them. Hopefully I'm not going to be using them in the industry no more. Hopefully I'm just teaching.
Well, we were saying before with me about how, like, we're both sat here with a pen and paper.
Yeah, I've never thought that.
No, and Tom, who's sitting behind the camera, who's going to hate me for saying this, but he all his to-do lists are on computer.
Yeah.
So it's, and I appreciate what people are saying about you taking the skill out of the job, because arguably with what I've just said there about pen and paper, you're losing the writing ability.
Yeah.
But is that just, it's okay, it might be a bit sad, but is that just natural progression?
I think we might be pen and paper, yes.
Because we're not the most innovative of industries, I don't think.
No, circuits, how they're wired, generally never change.
Yeah.
How we install our cables won't change dramatically. Realistically, Conlock has a little bit, but trunking, unless you could, if you go to trunking, I don't think you can join two trunking without bolting it together.
Not that I know of.
That I know of just yet, you know.
Apologies to any manufacturer.
Yeah, exactly. If they are, send them my way for it. But generally, obviously, the quicker installs, and that's what the UPS is, quicker installs is that on there. Well, yeah, I think with IT and digital skills, I think that's a natural progression for students. Right. I don't see it as a bad thing. I still think pen and paper is still key. A lot of times you might do a material list on site using pen and paper.
Yeah. You
might then transfer it onto an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Or whatever apps. Lots of apps you can buy now to do it all for you as well. Again, pricing, you might do that on pen and paper and then send a quote digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're still needed.
Okay.
But yeah, I still think IT skill it does have a big role.
Good.
To play.
And what about quoting then? Is that a big part of the curriculum?
Yes, so it's naturally in the curriculum. As I was touching on earlier on with the design projects, they will have to do a materials list.
Right.
They'll have to do quantities. They then have to find the products, labour costs, work out the price of the job, including labour, material as well. So they're going to have to use the internet to find these prices. Get the best price they can.
And what about when they're quoting and they go out into the industry? Do you think that the new learners coming through need to be taught to, price this up based on the investment you've made in the 5 years? Because it's the margins that, certainly as I understand it, that are worked on at contract level are so thin.
Yeah.
Should they demand more for the skill set they've got?
Yeah, it's a good probably. I mean, they have to. It's part of it, but would it be the top priority?
Yeah.
I'd say more the actual knowing how to
the fundamentals.
Yeah. It's part of it, but I think as long as they're aware of different products cost different prices, how to quantify that.
Yeah.
That's as far as they go. Really stick with it. But it's important, and like I say, usually when I get new learners at level 2 or T levels, one of the first jobs will be, let's price up a tool bag.
Right, okay.
Let's buy a bag.
Yeah.
And then let's put all the tools in it and just give them an insight to how much it's going to cost you to buy your tools to set yourself up as an electrician.
Right, okay.
So it gives them an insight, and it then appreciates the materials they use in the workshop.
Great.
So it is part of it, and we do materials as well, tools and materials lists like products.
Okay.
So an MCB, how much does an MCB cost? A breaker,
right.
How much does a light switch cost? And they can pick the brands they want on that one.
Fair enough. Okay.
Conduit, I'll make sure they do Metpro.
Thank you very much. That's my next question. In your mind, how can wholesalers and manufacturers support the education of the next generation more?
Well, this is what I was going to get to with this one. I think they've got to get into education more.
Get into the institutions?
Yeah.
Right.
Come and bring their products to the actual colleges itself.
Okay.
Some are good at that. Some need to work on it, and then it's down to, it works both ways.
Yeah.
I reached out to you, you've got back to me. So it works both ways.
Absolutely.
So maybe educators need to reach out to more brands to say, come show your products. We've got a lot of customers here that could potentially buy your products.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win for both.
Yeah.
And then maybe we could have old stock that couldn't be used.
Okay.
Given to the college at a discount price.
Yep.
On there as well for us. Maybe college discounts.
Okay.
Because generally, we're not going out there and reusing it. Unfortunately, conduit, a lot of it gets recycled.
I know it does.
For us, we can't reuse it and reuse it. Once we put a bend in the conduit, we can't take the bend out. So I think it's just collaborating more, better communication, come and do some tech talks on the shop floor at the college, and then maybe if they've got some end stock, damaged equipment, that could be a use for a college.
Yeah.
Maybe reaching out and going, we've got this stuff, are you interested in it?
Right, okay.
The college may go, it's no good to us.
Yeah.
Or, but at least the offer's there.
Absolutely. I mean, that collaboration is this conversation right now. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. We've built this relationship up, over several months.
Yeah.
It's been nice to do that, and you supported us, and I want to support you back.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to do more as an industry. Yeah. I think they're starting to see a bit of a shift.
I think social media has helped that a lot.
Well, you've given these unfiltered platforms to people. Really,
I think before social media was around, I don't think those platforms were available.
No.
And it wasn't probably advertised right for the manufacturer to come to the college. Now it can be advertised through the different social media platforms of both the manufacturer and the educational provider as well. So it's a win-win on both sides. I think social media has helped that collaboration. I think it's got to get better and better and better.
I think it only will as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we were talking just a few minutes ago about, it's got to be both ways. I think as well as the manufacturer or the wholesaler, whoever going into the institutions, I think we should invite the students out to us as well. Come and see what we do.
Yeah, I'm very keen for that, because what I saw today in the factory there, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know the testing you do on your products is so stringent as well. I was really impressed with that. And I think our learners would enjoy that as well.
I think so. I mean, it'll give them a bit of, if you took conduit tube, for example, as you were saying earlier on, sometimes you bend it and you'll get that. You'll get
a ripple or a tear in it, or where it's stretched around the former.
Yeah, so we can take students through that and show the tests that we do to ensure that doesn't happen, and here's why.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, like I said to you before, a lot of the metal work will be on display. It's not hidden generally.
Yeah.
And if you've got those stretches, those tears in it, the customer's not going to be happy about that on show.
Certainly not now when you're in your local coffee shop.
Exactly that, in your bistros and that.
Exactly.
And if you've only got that tube, then you've then got to go out and buy another brand. Yeah. It's going to cost you time and money because you've only got that tube on the job.
Exactly.
And it's going to keep on happening.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, so there, little call out to manufacturers and wholesalers alike.
Yeah. Please come to Walsall College, get in contact with me. I'd love to have you in. And some do. So I don't want to be too negative and say no one does. There are some brands out there, manufacturers, that are really good and do support colleges. Yeah. And long may it continue.
Yeah. Hey, look, Andrew, you're sat here talking to me, and we haven't done it before because it's new to us. Yeah. And something we'll certainly be getting involved in.
Yeah, that's really positive.
Yeah. Lovely. Okay. Well, moving away from the education side of things a little bit. As you say, you're a qualified electrician.
Yeah.
What challenges did you face going into the industry or is that, how different are the challenges from then compared to now?
Oh, that's a very good question on that one. Challenges I face. Oh, okay. It was a tough industry, I think, and challenging in the sense of just getting to grips with all the different aspects. Right. I think at the time, I don't know if electricians, once you're doing an apprenticeship, they expect you to know everything. And as we know now, there's so many products. Yeah. There's so many different ways to do something. It's very hard. So I don't think that will ever change. Okay. The expectation levels. If you've got a 16, 17-year-old that's just left school, they've never been on a building site. You've got to take them from like an alien. Yeah. So it's that expectation levels, I think. Right. You place on someone. Okay. That's the challenging on there. Whether that would change, I don't think it would. Right. But it depends on the person. Yeah. Because I wouldn't say I had a bad apprenticeship, I had a tough one. When I worked with apprentices, I was never wanting to be that way with them. Right. I was a bit more supportive. Yeah. If they made a mistake, it wasn't, it's doom and gloom.
You get hammered for it.
Yeah. Kind of thing. It was like, well, that's a learning curve. What did you do wrong? What would you do differently?
Do you think the industry's changed in that respect?
I'm hoping it has. Right. I'm hoping it has. I really do hope so. Generally, when I speak to the apprentices, some elements are still there, but not as bad. Right. I think I think it was just a generation change. Okay. I think we're a bit more, I wouldn't say, a bit more positive. Yeah. I think this is the word I would pick. Okay. On that one for them. Encouraging. But yeah, there's some. It's definitely challenging. Maybe as well. I worked away a lot as well. That can be quite challenging. Right. So leaving home at a young age. Yeah. You're not used to it, and then living at a hotel. Yeah. It can be challenging. For them as well. That can be a culture shock. Yeah. But a nice learning curve. Yeah.
Foster the independence, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. If they're not used to ever having to cook their own meal, iron their own clothes, which generally 16 to 19-year-olds generally not.
I struggle. I burnt a pot noodle the other day.
Yeah. I've been on toast man myself, but generally it can be. So it's a good thing. Okay. For them, so that can be a challenging aspect because contracting generally you're not always going to work locally. No. So travel can be being away from your loved ones. Yeah. That's difficult challenges there.
Okay. And what about the opportunities then? What do you see as the biggest opportunities for young electricians?
Okay, so with that one, like I mentioned before, the renewable energy market, obviously, government have set some targets. I know recently have changed those targets.
Yeah.
They have set some targets to hit. Hopefully they keep to them. EV, electrical vehicles are getting more and more popular. I'm sure there's some stats out there probably saying they're outselling general cars at the moment. And I don't think that will change once they get a bit more affordable and the range gets better for cars and there's more charge points.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are sceptical about petrol garage start charge points. So I think that will change for it. So I think that's a good area.
Okay.
Solar panels, cost of living for them, because people want to be generating their own electricity. Because energy prices, I can't see that changing quite soon on that one. So I think petrol, electric and gas will still be quite high prices. I think we're in that for a long time.
Okay.
Or also as well, mortgage rates. I'm sure everyone's felt the pinch of a mortgage rate.
Absolutely, yep.
Change in your back pocket. So generally, again, I don't know the stats, I haven't researched it, but I think people are generally not moving houses as much now.
No.
I think more people are doing some home renovations, or if they need a 4-bed, like a 3-bed house and they need a 4-bed house, they might put a loft conversion in or extension. So they may remortgage that way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think there's an opportunity there for electricians as well.
Okay.
Obviously, there's got to be works needing to do for that.
Yeah.
So I think there's some good sectors for that as well. And generally, the industry, construction industry, new build houses, the government have got a shortage of houses. Yeah. They've got targets hit for that. So there's still lots of avenues for them. And generally, if you go into most town centres, you'll see, a crane.
Oh, there's cranes. I mean, I was just driving down the M6 the other day, and I don't know, I can't remember where I got off at now, but I think there was 3 or 4 massive housing developments going on. Yeah,
I drove through Birmingham, and everywhere I looked, there was cranes.
Yeah. So it's encouraging signs.
Yeah, so there's got to. I can't see that changing. The government have got the level up projects as well. So I do think there's some opportunities for generations of areas.
Okay. What about self-promotion? Because we talked about social media.
Again, something I do encourage my students to do is set up some Instagram. Yeah. Separate to the private one. Keep that private. Obviously, create a student one, advertise their work on there. I think it's a great advertising platform. I certainly find it challenging myself because I'm new to the game in that sense. Yeah. But the younger generation are probably used to living their lives on some kind of social media platform.
Absolutely, yeah.
So why not advertise their business on there? And you can be, with the phones now, you can be so creative with them.
Of course. I mean, you look at some of the people that are in our industry, just to name a few. I mean, you've got Theo Webster, who we had on, Nick Bundy, and his apprentice, Adam, Artisan Electrics,
eFix. Some of the videos they create with the slow laps. They're throw something on the wall and it's on the wall. And so clever. And I think that's where students have got to, whether we as a course encourage that in there as well, train them in that, because that's a revenue for advertising.
Absolutely.
And people generally look at that nowadays. You still, don't get me wrong, you still got to have your word of mouth the traditional way.
Absolutely.
If you do a good job for one person, they recommend you to another person. That will never change, but generally social platforms is another way of advertising your work as well, and showcasing your work.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's to be an electrician. I mean, I'm not one, and to go through that investment in yourself over 4 or 5 years, and then the subsequent years of getting honing the craft, if you like. Yeah, you should be bloody proud of what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, some of our work it gets covered. Yeah, you put all the effort in it, and it looks immaculate. And then someone comes and put a ceiling over it.
Yeah, and all the painter decorators take the glory.
He's never seen again. Fuse boards as well. Some of the fuse boards I see on social media, they're fantastic. Yeah, especially a 3-phase board. How they dress it in. You can eat your dinner off it. It's a work of art. Yeah, someone spent hours creating that, and then we go, cover, never to be seen, so why not showcase it?
Absolutely.
Same as domestic fuse boards as well. Some nifty ways of how they're bringing the cables in now to compare to what they used to. There's ways you dress it in so it looks neat. You've got to spend a bit more time to do that. But again, if you're advertising it on a social platform, that's why you do it.
And you're taking care of your craft as well.
Yeah,
not just slapping it up.
Yeah, it's not just that'll do.
Yeah, exactly.
The attitude I used to get when I was doing it. Well, it looks good for my house.
Yeah.
That will do.
Right.
Kind of attitudes, but I think now social media has took that away.
It's put spotlights on stuff, literally.
Yeah, so I think that's good.
Okay.
I think.
Do you think that as more new learners, more new electricians go into the industry, do you see them going to work for companies or going sole traders?
Oh, well, generally with my cohort of 16 to 19-year-olds, you ask them what they want to do, what's the dream, what's the goal, is to have their own company and have some electricians working for them.
Right.
Or just be trading themselves. So
that's good. Yeah, it's a lot of aspiration there.
I would say the aspirations is definitely to be an electrician, and to have their own company.
Great.
And have someone else do the work for them.
Yeah.
And they get paid off it. Generally, yes.
Lovely. So do you feel, just as a bit of a penultimate wrap-up question, do you feel positive about the electricians in the future?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, my course numbers, ever since I've been in the industry of education, classroom sizes have generally been on the high side.
Right.
Never been on the low side. T levels, because it's a new one, it's a new qualification. They've been on the lower side compared to other ones. But no, I see abundance of people want to get into the industry.
Great.
I can't see that changing. As I've mentioned before, you've got renewable energy, market. There's always got to be a need for electrician. Generally,
100%.
Everything's plugged in.
Yeah.
As long as we've got no wireless cable.
Yeah.
Please don't invent that, anyone. He's going to do that. I think we're going to be... I think it's positive. I can't see that changing. And that goes with all construction.
Yeah.
I don't want to just... I know spotlight's on electrical, but I see that with plumbing, gas. I see that with painting, decorating, carpentry. I generally see construction as... If you look at during through COVID... Look at the businesses that stayed open. Construction was one of the ones that stayed open.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
Construction workers still went to site and worked during COVID.
Absolutely.
Whereas everyone stayed at home.
Yeah.
So it was the only market that carried on.
Yeah.
And that isn't going to change. It'll go through recessions, of course it will.
Yeah.
But I'm very positive about it.
Yeah.
Answer your question. I still think there's going to be a high numbers of electricians needed and required.
Great. Okay. Well, the last question that we always ask everybody is, how do you think we can work better as an industry throughout the supply chain? So
manufacturers and wholesalers.
Manufacturers, wholesalers, contractors, FM.
As I said, I think it's collaboration.
Right.
I think the stakeholders from both the manufacturers and the brands, the wholesalers, stakeholders in education, got to come together. And then it's about then working together, effective communication, and getting the manufacturers, the brands, into the right places, and then getting the educationers to come out and see the brands as well,
right,
on the shop floor. Why their product, what goes into their product,
right?
Because I don't think anyone understands how certain things are made.
No,
they just take it as, well, it's a plastic part there that's just made. Well, actually, it's gone through some rigorous testing.
Yeah,
design elements.
Absolutely.
So I think that's how we need to get around the table somehow. And
it's what everybody that we've spoken to has said the same thing, and hopefully, well, I mean, certainly our intention to get a bit of some round table discussions in the future.
Yeah, and a lot we've talked about. I visited you today. You guys are going to come out and visit my college, and I want to get some students to come and visit here, and we've got to do some tech talks at our college. Yeah. So I think that's the starting block.
Brilliant, fabulous. Okay, mate. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. Can't wait to the next one.
Yeah, we'll definitely do another one. Where can people find you if they want to talk to you?
LinkedIn. Come and find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me at the moment.
Or just turn up at Walsall College.
Or turn up at Walsall College.
Fabulous. Andrew, really appreciate that, mate.
No, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See you on the next one.
Yeah, perfect.